Lexus is the sensible luxury car brand. Its vehicles sell because of bulletproof reliability and headache-free ownership, not tire-torching performance or emotional appeal. Now, in an effort to inject some passion into its portfolio, the company has been restyling many of its models and, of course, introducing performance-tuned variants as well. And they really threw the gauntlet down with their limited production LFA supercar. And following hot in its tire tracks is another ultra-high performance two-door, the 2015 Lexus RC F Coupe, right there. The RC F Coupe is a uniquely Japanese retort in a debate that's been dominated by German manufacturers. This thing competes with vehicles like the brand new BMW M4, the Audi RS5, and of course the Mercedes-Benz C63 AMG. It's a V8-powered rear-wheel drive hellion that Lexus executives hope will bring younger buyers into its showrooms. And this car certainly looks the part. Its face is dominated by the company's massive spindle grille. The angular headlamps make it look pissed off at the entire world, and its back end is just as mean, punctuated with stacked quad exhaust tips. This car grabs your gaze and doesn't let go. It's the same story inside. As you'd expect from a vehicle built by a luxury automaker, the RCF's cabin here is very nicely trimmed. You get soft plastics everywhere. There's some beautiful soft leather and even a sort of suede material in a couple different spots of the cabin here. It's all very well done. Even the switchgear has a super premium feel to it, and of course, that's a Toyota Lexus trademark. One interesting styling element that they included in this interior is the stitching. They've got some contrast colors on the steering wheel and of course on the shifter as well, but especially on the seats and the door panels, they've added this sort of wave pattern to it, which gives it a pretty unique look. As for the front seats, they're quite firm and very supportive, and I think they'd be pretty comfortable on a really long-haul drive. But if you're a slightly larger person, well, larger than me, which is probably just about everyone out there, you may find them just a little bit snug up here where your ribs are. But of course, this is designed to be a track car, and that's going to hold you really tight when you're carving tight corners. If there is one downside to the RCF's interior, I find that the layout is just a bit too busy for my taste. All sorts of different swooping surfaces and shapes. Personally, I would prefer if they kept it just a little bit cleaner, a little bit neater, but again, that all boils down to personal preference. Out on the street, the RCF is predictably a blast to drive. This car is freaking fast and it sounds so good. That V8 engine just screams. It's a naturally aspirated wonder. Fortunately, the rest of this car's dynamics can really back up what its powertrain can deliver because the steering is really tight and precise, especially when you're going through twisting mountain roads, for instance. Also, the brakes are right there. You stab the pedal and the car just slows down drastically, although they do feel a little bit jumpy in day-to-day driving, although I'd imagine they'd be pretty excellent out on a race circuit. So making all of that face-distorting acceleration possible is a 5-liter V8 engine. Compared to the one in the ISF sedan, it's been completely reworked. In fact, the only major component they share is the cylinder block. That means this thing's got titanium intake and exhaust valves, larger ports both in and out. It's got forged connecting rods, and a whole bunch of other changes. And the result of all that engineering tomfoolery is 467 horsepower and 389 pound-feet of torque. The company claims this car will go from 0 to 60 in just 4.4 seconds. Now, to preserve a modicum of fuel economy, not that anybody that's going to buy this super high-performance coupe really cares about that, this engine is actually clever in that at partial load situations it can run on the Atkinson cycle, which delays the closing of the intake valve, so it actually makes the engine think it's a little bit smaller than it is, and that of course improves fuel economy and results in a score of 16 miles per gallon in the city, 25 highway, and a combined rating of 19 mpg. Obviously, with any performance car, it's best to test them out on a racetrack because you can push them to their very limits without endangering the general public or getting a whole bunch of points on your license. Now, Lexus engineers tell us the RCF here is extremely balanced and good for all different kinds of drivers, meaning it's approachable enough for a novice, yet it's still engaging enough for a veteran enthusiast. And this chassis is just a whole lot of fun. It's very balanced. I love the steering feel. Very direct as we're carving these corners here. Hard on the brakes. Stopping power is a strong suit of this vehicle. I'm very impressed with the brakes. Nearly 15-inch rotors up front, so you've got a lot of bite. As I mentioned earlier, it's a little jumpy on the street, but these binders really come into their own out on the racetrack. They seem to have pretty good fade resistance as well. Round in the corner here. Now, every RCF comes with a standard Torsen limited slip differential to really help put that 5-liter V8's power to the ground. But for extra money, you can actually get a torque vectoring electronic rear diff, and it comes with 3 different settings, so you can really fine-tune how the car behaves when you're out on the track wringing its neck. Listen to that. Now, every RCF comes standard with an 8-speed automatic transmission. Unfortunately, there is no manual gearbox available, but what are you going to do about that? Can't complain, really. This gearbox works pretty well. However, I've noticed that it's a little bit slow to respond. Almost like a half-second delay when you demand a gear shift with the paddle shifter here. There's an uncomfortably long pause before it does anything. However, if you do just leave it in drive, it does something pretty neat when you're in S Sport Plus mode. It will measure the G-forces, so as you're entering a corner, for instance, right up here, as you get on the brakes, it'll start downshifting. There's 1 gear, there's 2 gears, probably a 3rd right there. So you've got that power right at the ready, and it'll hold that gear through the corner, so when you hit the apex and you're exiting the turn, you can roll on the accelerator and blast right out. Overall, the 2015 Lexus RCF competes very favorably with its primary rivals, and in fact, it's practically guaranteed to beat them all in at least one mission-critical area, and of course that is reliability. I mean, it's a Toyota after all. Finally, for the all-important issue of pricing, the 2015 Lexus RCF starts at $63,325, but since we're not all doctors, lawyers, or corporate vice presidents, a base RC coupe can be had for just about $44 grand. And of course, both of those prices do include $925 for destination and delivery. This thing is a blast to drive on the street, and it's even more entertaining on the track, but is that enough for Lexus to compete in this highly contested segment? I think we're going to have to wait and see, but I believe all the right ingredients are there.